Today, thousands flocking to coastal Cameron County to witness a historic event. SpaceX Superheavy Starship, the biggest rocket in history, taking flight from Boca Chica, a feat that wasn't without its roadblocks. Tonight, a look back at the road from Boca Chica to eventually Mars. Plus, the economic changes coming from a rocket build and launch facility in our own backyard.
That SpaceX invested $430 million on operations, including payroll, construction, and capital improvements in Cameron County alone last year.
Jobs from Boca Chica to Port Isabel to Brownsville, longtime employers boosting their staff and new businesses opening up shop.
SpaceX is our lifeline. So as they have, launches, we have business. So we sort of depend on each other. Well, we don't depend on each other, but we certainly depend on them.
Our Stephanie Rosales is standing by with a live report on the economic impact to deep South Texas. Also ahead, the most vulnerable neighbors next door and the voices standing up for them.
What are the risk factors that they've been examining? What are the safety issues they've been examining?
The continuing concerns as the space exploration company puts our wildlife system potentially in harm's way. We have a lot to unpack and only 30 minutes to do it. Our special coverage of this historic test flight from the Boca Chica SpaceX facility starts right now. Today was a historic day, not just for folks here in the Rio Grande Valley, but possibly humanity as a whole, as the biggest rocket known to man took its next steps into possibly putting humans on Mars. Thanks for joining us for this special coverage of the Starship Superheavy's first test flight. I'm Rudy Mideles, and joining me now is Chief Meteorologist Tim Smith. And I wanted to start with you, Tim, because you have been here for every single one of these launches, yes, starting with that trash can, the Star Hopper,
right,
the first time it went up. What are your thoughts?
It's just mind-boggling that they can do this, that a private company can do this. You know, we saw NASA for years do what they do, and now Elon and SpaceX have come in and done this and launched this massive rocket, and they're doing it right here, right in our backyard, where they can inspire young people to say, hey, science is something important, and maybe young kids are going to get more involved in this. It's an aha moment for kids, so it's just amazing. And to see that thing go up today was the loudest, by far, one that we've seen, and we've seen them all, and this one was the loudest by far. We felt it. You didn't just see it, you felt it. And then, of course, we had the sand rain that came at the end, which was bizarre. We'll talk about all that, but just a remarkable moment for space travel, and again, right here in our backyard.
All right, Tim. Well, we'll check in with you in just a few minutes here. Right. But for now, let's get back to what happened here today. Now, we know that the safety systems on the Starship ended up blowing the rocket up about 20 miles or so off the coast of South Padre Island. But regardless, SpaceX is still considering this test a success. And the reason for that is because it is the first time that it has launched the Super Heavy booster into flight, and it accomplished that on the first time, which has garnered a lot of reaction from supporters of the company, but also reaction from those opposed to a rocket build and launch facility right in our backyard. Today, the Starship Super Heavy rocket launching from Boca Chica, flying over the Gulf of Mexico for 3 minutes 59 seconds and climbing nearly 24 miles above the valley before being blown into pieces, the Starship and booster failing to disconnect for the next stage of flight. On Twitter, SpaceX CEO Elon Musk congratulating employees and happy with the result. The mood's similar at NASA. The agency's administrator congratulating the space exploration company, saying, quote, looking forward to all that SpaceX learns to the next flight test and beyond. The energy in the crowds of spectators electric, regardless of Starship's early unplanned destruction. People from near and far traveling to the valley's coastline.
It was very exciting, yeah, very exciting. I've seen a lot of, over 20 different launches, and I've never seen one like that before. That was a true test launch, so one step closer to Mars.
But some worried about what the future holds. Valley residents on social media worried about the aftermath at Boca Chica.
Images capturing the hole left behind from 30 Raptor engines firing directly above it. The cloud of sands from underneath carried more than 5 miles away, and the rocket's engines shaking nearby homes and schools, raising questions about what will happen during the next launch. But for today, excitement is the theme.
We couldn't even believe. My wife was speechless.
I got goosebumps. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm speechless.
Yeah, it was better than we thought.
Well, definitely left a lot of folks speechless. I know it took us a few minutes to recover.
It did, and it's just one of those moments when we just kind of sit back and absorb what has happened. You know, this is over the really 8-9 years since SpaceX announced they were buying this property and they were doing this, and now here we are, and this was one of the big milestones. There have been a bunch of them, and the weather cooperated.
Yeah, I know it was a lot better on Monday. It would have been a lot nicer weather. We would have had a better view without all the fog and clouds that we had today, and definitely a lot less wind too.
Yeah, it was interesting when all that the rain of the sand that started coming down. Well, we're right downwind from it, so all the equipment was covered in that sand and all that kind of stuff. But it is coming up on the weekend. A lot of folks are thinking now, well, maybe I should go to the beach and see what's left. So let's go back to the studio. Meteorologist Brittany Mudela has our weekend beach forecast. Then we'll come back and talk more about what's going on out here. Brittany.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, that's right. We have some rain chances this weekend. Our best chance for rain is going to be Sunday, a 50% chance for some scattered showers and a few isolated storms across the area. But let's take a look at that beach forecast. We are looking at partly cloudy skies for your Saturday. May get to see some sunshine in the morning hours, but we have about a 10% chance for a stray shower or two as we get into Saturday evening. Then Sunday, that's when those rain chances really return. So if you're going to the beach, maybe go on Saturday before Sunday, and then mostly cloudy skies for Sunday. Some showers and storms expected. It's also going to be breezy, winds gusting up to 30 miles per hour. As far as temperatures for Saturday, sticking around in the 70s, mid-70s for that high, and then Sunday will be in the mid-70s as well, 72 degrees around that 8 p.m. hour. As far as some surf, high around 3 to 5 feet, surf temp around 74 degrees and 75 degrees bay temp. Some beach conditions, expect some high rip current risk if you are heading to the beach this weekend, but not looking too bad for the beach.
Thanks, Brett. I think that SpaceX knew what they were doing when they were looking at the weather forecast, because there's some rain possibly coming in this weekend, and they had a window beyond today into the next couple of days, but the weather doesn't look perfect for the weekend. So they said, let's get this off today, or it might be next week before they can get it out there. Got a cool picture today.
Yeah, let's see. I want you to break this down. I got a C- in meteorology, so I'll let you take it from here.
This is an awesome photo. Take a look at this. This is from a GOES satellite, which is a geostationary orbiting environmental satellite that's looking down at the Earth. And if you look at it, there's 3 things marked there. One is the contrail. That's the actual contrail behind the condensation trail behind the rocket as it was going out over the Gulf of Mexico. That's a thin white line you see. Number 2, underneath that, you see a black line. That's the shadow of the contrail on top of the other clouds on the Earth down there. Pretty remarkable, because the sun was kind of up in the northeastern sky, so it was creating that shadow down below. And then number 3, that dot you see, that's lightning detection picking up the explosion of the RUD, of the unscheduled disassembly. That's it. The lightning detection picked up the flash from that explosion. So we see the contrail, the shadow of the contrail, and then lightning detection picking up that bright flash from the explosion, all in one satellite image. And thanks to NOAA for putting all that together, because really a pretty cool shot today.
Yeah, and that just kind of tells you how big that thing is.
Yes, that it created. It didn't create lightning, but it was almost as bright as lightning, and the charges with it made it look like lightning on the satellite and on the lightning mapping systems. Pretty cool, right?
Yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, and the fact that NOAA put that together, that means everybody's watching this. That's the government, and they looked at it, put that together to send it out for everybody to see it.
All right, thank you so much, Tim. Still ahead, over the last few years, several businesses have changed to adapt to the needs at SpaceX. Our Stephanie Rosales is standing by with the economic impact the company's had in the region. And while the economy is growing from SpaceX, so are concerns from environmental groups. Why they worry for public safety and our wildlife. Those stories up next as this Channel 5 News special report continues live from Port Isabel. Stay with us. As SpaceX has grown its footprint in the area, so have the concerns for the environment as well as the safety of the folks living in the Laguna Madre area. Last night we told you about those 27 different organizations from across the valley and the state that signed a letter in opposition to today's test launch. Now, in that letter, Sierra Club Brownsville organizer Emma Guevara said, quote, A billionaire is closing our beach to use the land to test his experimental technology, putting the lives of locals at risk while destroying acres of a wildlife reserve. Who will be held accountable for the destruction this company consistently causes when the government continues to ignore community members' very real and very serious concerns? End quote. Those concerns growing more after that rocket exploded just 20 miles or so off the coast of South Padre Island. Here's Channel 5's Christian Von Preissing.
With its ambitious Starship development plan, SpaceX plans to build a rocket that'll transport people around the world in less than an hour and one day reach Mars. But along the way, the company still draws criticism for the way it's transformed Boca Chica Beach. Here's a look at an early video of what Boca Chica looked like before the big SpaceX build-out. And here's what the area is looking like now. The launch pad is surrounded by protected land and wildlife refuges on all sides. The area has industrialized, and SpaceX's use of Highway 4 leading to Boca Chica Beach has grown.
Essentially being privatized and the public is being excluded. That's never happened in Texas. Texas beaches have been sacred.
Environmentalist Jim Chapman and people concerned about the size of this project say limits to beach access, lights, loud noises, road closures, explosions, impacts to endangered wildlife, including the ocelot and the Kemp's Ridley sea turtle, are all issues. In 2019, the first major success, the Starhopper successfully flew and landed, but over the next 24 months, that was followed by more tests, more momentum, and then explosions at the launch pad. In February 2021, launches were put on hold while the Federal Aviation Administration looked into one of SpaceX's launches and how the company exceeded what the agency called the maximum safety risk when it ignored warnings and launched anyway. The FAA also investigated SpaceX's leadership and safety culture over 2 months. And last June, one of the largest regulatory hurdles was passed. The FAA granted the permit to operate the Starship and Superheavy booster. But the permit required 75 actions the company would need to take to mitigate the impacts. Among them, SpaceX had to reduce the impacts to endangered species, take steps to reduce pollution, reduce the number of road closure requests, and accept plans for how to restore the area if explosions happen. Now with the new FAA launch approval and today's flight, there's still questions about public safety.
The public would like to know, well, what are the risk factors that they've been examining? What are the safety issues they've been examining? And how do we know that they have done enough to issue the permit?
With the launch and with approval from the FAA to do it, SpaceX has cleared environmental hurdles the government is asking for, and now moving ahead with testing and development. Christian Von Preissing, Channel 5 News.
Up next, the dollars flowing into the valley's economy from around the globe.
We're getting people from Switzerland, from Paris, from Denmark. We're just getting a lot of new visitors to our area.
Stephanie Rosales is live on Isla Blanca with the economic impact from SpaceX. Plus, we've been here for every launch since Starhopper, and today's fiery end for Starship 24 was one in a line of many up to this point. We'll take a look back at the road to today's launch from Boca Chica as our special report continues live from Port Isabel. Welcome back to this special report on the historic Starship test flight from Boca Chica. Now, this test flight was supposed to originally happen on Monday, and it got scrubbed, and it almost didn't happen today if it weren't for the work of the more than 1,700 employees that work about 5 miles behind me that way. And those employees have been working around the clock, and a large chunk of that number is all homegrown RGV people. Let's get to Stephanie Rosales, who's been talking to officials from around the area about what that means for our local economy. Stephanie.
So many people came out today to witness this historic launch, from locals to people from around the globe. The large crowds translate to only one thing: a boost in tourism. Valley businesses are profiting. The aroma of roasted coffee fills the roast house in downtown Brownsville.
We're very excited to show people what Brownsville is and what it always has been. It's just that now we're finally getting the attention that we deserve.
Ezequiel Silva is one of the owners of the roast house. The SpaceX hype, he says, is bringing more foot traffic into his coffee shop and other nearby businesses.
Most of the tourists that we get here in our coffee shop say that they've come from SpaceX and they've heard that downtown is the place to be.
It's not just locals visiting downtown Brownsville. SpaceX is attracting visitors from near and far.
We're getting people from Switzerland, from Paris, from Denmark. We're just getting a lot of new visitors to our area.
With the activity at SpaceX set to continue into the future.
They're economical changes, good for our city, good for our people. It's just shining a light on who we are and what our culture is.
An added bonus, the Roast House was hired by SpaceX for coffee deliveries, a request coming straight from Elon Musk.
Right when COVID was starting, we were taking samples. He tasted our salted caramel, and that was the end of it. He said, I need that every day.
The Roast House delivered around 20 gallons of coffee to Starbase every day for nearly 2 years. The deliveries have since stopped.
As their project is growing, of course, security has to ramp up.
But Silva is grateful for the opportunity to serve the SpaceX team. Also grateful for the attention SpaceX is bringing is Brownsville Mayor Trey Mendez.
It's been a big impact for us. Now, just about anywhere you go, people know where Brownsville is or they know where Boca Chica is.
Mendez says SpaceX is the city's largest employer, with more than 1,700 employees alone working at the SpaceX Boca Chica launch site. Around 75 to 80% of them are locals. An economic impact study shows that SpaceX invested $430 million in operations. This includes payroll, construction, and capital improvements in Cameron County. Mayor Trey Mendez says this dollar amount is at least the same, if not more, for 2022.
And it's important to know that the majority of this rocket was built with people from the valley.
Nathan Burkhart is the Director of Business Development for the Brownsville Improvement Corporation. SpaceX, he says, is not only putting Brownsville on the map, but the Valley and the Lone Star State.
Brownsville and Texas in general, our space industry is rising.
Burkhart says the Musk Foundation invested in Brownsville. The city received $10 million to go towards revitalization of downtown. The Roast House received $150,000 of that, which they used to remodel their building. Live in South Padre Island, Stephanie Rosales, Channel 5 News at 6.
All right, thank you so much, Stephanie. Thank you so much, Stephanie. Today's test flight ended with Starship blowing up off the coast of South Padre Island. But both the company and even NASA consider today's test flight a success. But this isn't the first time that something has ended in a fiery explosion and what some consider possibly even a failure. Here's a look back at what the road to today's launch was.
Today, SpaceX making history. Launching the biggest rocket ever known to man from the Boca Chica facility. The rocket exploded midair shortly after liftoff, but SpaceX is still celebrating the test. SpaceX CEO Elon Musk congratulating his team on Twitter. But today's success coming after years of work in the Rio Grande Valley. Summer 2019, 3 years after construction crews broke ground at Boca Chica, the Starhopper taking flight.
Our platform is shaking. It's rumbling. We can hear it. It is loud and it is rumbling here.
The following year, May 2020, a setback before the next step, launching a full-fledged Starship above South Texas.
That's video of the actual explosion on the right, a large ball of fire erupting just before 2 p.m.
A small roadblock for the big team before accomplishing their next step. SN8 has successfully lifted off from the Boca Chica facility, launching Starship SN8 into flight, performing the space exploration company's famous landing flip maneuver. But the Starship coming in too fast, careening into the platform.
That is the first time in history a launch vehicle of this size has accomplished that. And it looks like it may have ended in flames.
And exploding on impact. Explosions. Flames, and even debris as far as South Padre Island, the result for the next 3 attempts. The debris from SN11 exploding in midair. The potential catalyst for a spontaneous donation from Musk to Cameron County schools. A donation that was met with both excitement and displeasure within the community.
Some of the debris, of course, will be hot from just traveling through the air that fast. We would not like it to ignite any methane.
We have somebody with all of these resources, all of this power to intimidate people out of their homes.
Those growing pains leading up to this.
Here it is, here it comes. And we'll hold off on saying it was a success just yet. We've seen this play out before, but that is the least amount of flames that I have ever seen come out of a Starship.
May 5th, 2021. The first and only launch with successful recovery of a Starship in the company's 21-year history. And the last time we'd hear the roar of those Raptor engines for nearly 24 months. Until today.
As we bring this special report to a close, we wanted to take one final look at what the crowds felt when they witnessed this historic flight today.
No, this is our first time on South Padre Island, and boy, I gotta say the people are friendly here. Oh, I think there's gonna be some kind of rocket launch attempt today or something. We're gonna pop that bottle like the cigars if he kicks the tires and lights the fires. But yeah, definitely to see the Starship fly. Ship 24, Booster 7. I've been waiting 2 years to see this. And something in the orange. That thing either blowing up or taking off. Some kind of excitement over there.
The rocket right over there. It's a little hidden behind all that fog, but hopefully today's the day.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. It's amazing. I love it, and I'm glad I was here.
But it's history. I mean, we were here and we're just so glad to be here.
It was like...
You could feel it in your chest. Everybody was cheering. I was just looking at it, and I actually just was blown away by how
I had tears in my eyes.
And wow, was that exciting.
This was a beautiful bonding event for me and my son. We'll remember it forever.
Yeah, this was great.
Maybe everybody doesn't full realize it yet, but in time we'll realize how history-making this was.
And with that, a big thank you to our technical directors, Steven Serkowitz, executive producers Angie Martinez and Ana Vecchio, chief photojournalist Marco Vecchio, and the rest of the team back in Weslaco for making this special report possible. And more importantly, on behalf of Tim, Christian, Stephanie, and myself, thank you for joining us.